If you grew up in California like I did, you probably saw a lot of public service announcements from Smokey Bear telling you that only you can prevent forest fires and to be extremely careful when putting out your campfires. We had a lot of fires in California. And that was why I was really excited to check out this collaboration between Vero, which is with them and Smokey Bear. This is a really fun, lighthearted take on the Field Watch, but since it's made by Vero, it's built like a tank and backed by their insane industry-leading 10-year warranty. Take a quick look and let's get into it. Quick disclaimer for transparency's sake, Vero did give me this watch for free, however they didn't have any control over the content of this video. So one of the things I was going to focus in a lot on this review is the cost. This watch retails for $604, which is kind of high for a watch that is powered by a Seiko NH38 automatic movement. And I think some people will have a bit of sticker shock in seeing a $600 watch with this movement in it. But I think Vero's done enough in this watch to justify the full retail cost, which again, we'll get into in a minute, but that doesn't really matter right now. If you're watching this video as it's released, which I think should be on Thanksgiving for most people in the States, that means it's right around Black Friday, and Vero is in fact running a Black Friday sale, I believe for the first time, and you can pick up this watch right now on their website for $483, which is a huge discount. And so if you're drawn to this watch, I would recommend picking it up now because this is just a great deal. But if you're still on the fence, stick around for a few more minutes and let me tell you why I think this is such a cool watch. This watch is being produced by Vero, which is a US-based micro brand, and they've kind of built a reputation for themselves producing very rugged watches with a distinct modern design. But since this watch is a collaboration with Smokey the Bear and is an officially licensed product celebrating the 80th anniversary of the Smokey Bear character and his quest to ensure the safety of both forests and campers in those forests, this watch looks very different from Vero's normal offerings, and in fact, you won't even find any Vero branding on the watch face itself. You have to look on the case back to actually see that. What we have is a very beautiful, vintage-looking field watch that's housed in an elegant-looking bronze case. The case size is relatively compact at 38 millimeters, which is good. That's what you want to see on a field watch, something a little bit more unobtrusive. And 38 millimeters means it's going to be very wrist-friendly, even for guys who have smaller wrists. But despite the modest size, the watch has a ton of presence on the wrist, thanks both to the beautiful bronze case and those warm golden tones that shine from it, as well as a dial that features incredibly bold Arabic numerals and a large handset. For a dial this small, the numerals are actually incredibly large, and it makes it very legible and extremely easy to read. And since the numerals and the handset are both so large, it also gives them a lot of surface area to apply lume, so this watch also has great after dark performance, giving off a steady and long-lasting green glow. And that powerful lume is one of the first clues we're going to see into the technical features of this watch, because even though it does have this very vintage, charming style to it, Vero has really built this thing like a tank. It features both a sapphire crystal and a screw-down crown, which helps to give the case a very substantial 120 meters of water resistance. And the bronze case has a really substantial feel to it, thanks in part to a little bit of extra thickness. This is coming in at 12 millimeters thick, which is a little bit chunky for a 38 millimeter watch, but I think it works okay here. And likewise, even though the movement inside is a fairly unexciting Seiko NH series movement, Vero has implemented this movement in the best way possible. First, by selecting the NH38A, which is the no-date version of the NH series. This is a no-date watch, so you're not getting any ghost position here. And second, by not being content with Seiko's own factory regulation, which can be a little bit all over the place. And so for greater accuracy, they've opted to do additional regulation in the US where the watch is assembled. And yes, this is a US assembled watch, which means that Vero has a lot more control over the quality of the final product, and they have the staff and the capabilities to offer service. Which is important because I think one of the craziest and coolest selling features of this watch is the warranty that Vero includes with this. They give you a 10-year warranty that covers any damage. And that is something I've never heard of from a watch company. I've never heard any brand offer that kind of a warranty. Again, this is not warranting against manufacturing defects or the movement not working. This is warranting any damage. Like on their website, they have stories of guys who got in motorcycle crashes and sent their watch in to get repaired, and they fixed it under warranty. And so when you take all these things into consideration and remember that this is a bronze case watch, which typically tends to cost more, the $600 retail price starts to sound a lot more justified. But again, it's on sale right now, so you can pick it up for under $500. But for me, this watch is a lot more than just a great value. It's also a really fun and enjoyable watch, one that I've been wearing quite a lot since they sent it over for me to review. Again, part of that is because I have a nostalgic attachment to the Smokey Bear character. So for me, I like seeing the character at 12 o'clock. I like the way that they've branded this whole watch to make it look like it's a Smokey Bear watch and not a Vero watch. I think they did some really clever branding here by putting Smokey Bear's motto in the spot where you would normally see the brand name, where just under 12 o'clock it says "Only You" in reference to the motto, "Only you can prevent forest fires." And then I love how they filled out the space in the bottom half of the dial by creating this little pine tree logo that's done in a line drawing that really reminds me a lot of the British Ministry of Defense mark that you would typically find on a lot of vintage field watches that share a similar dial layout to this. But rather than reminding you of military battles, that little pine tree is reminding you of forests and camping and hiking and fishing, which are all activities where a great field watch comes in handy. And you'll find that same logo on the crown of the watch as well. The case of the watch features a classic, simple shape, but it has some very interesting finishing. Bronze is something of a difficult material to work with because it does patina over time, starting out with an almost gold-like luster which dulls and darkens, and over time the patina that develops on the watch will kind of overwhelm whatever finishing is done to the metal itself. Even still, the watch in its initial unpatinaed state is absolutely beautiful, with a primarily matte finish that seems a little bit blasted, which is very appropriate both for a field watch and for this bronze material. But what they've done that's really interesting is that they've given you a high-polished bezel as well. And that shimmering bronze halo around the dial of the watch just adds a touch of elegance and beauty to the design that I really appreciate. And I'm really curious to see how the developing patina affects those varying finishes on the watch, which admittedly is one of the most fun things about owning a bronze watch. Unlike a stainless steel watch, or especially a precious metal watch, where you typically want to maintain the original finish and avoid getting scratches, bronze-cased watches just start to age on their own. And embracing the wear and enjoying the way that the watch changes and develops over time is part of the fun. Vero does offer this watch in two colors. You can get it either with a green dial or a blue dial, and I think green and blue are two of the best colors to pair with bronze. I happen to like green slightly better, so that's the one that I asked them to send over. And I do think the shade of green that they picked really matches beautifully with that bronze case. Vero's also throwing in a little bit of extras. Included with the watch, you'll find a second strap. They give you a somewhat thick canvas single pass strap. So this is a NATO style strap. Features a black canvas with bronze hardware, which is going to be slightly more waterproof than the leather strap that comes stock with the watch. Both options work great and give you two very different looks with the watch. So it's really fun to have a choice there. I found myself wearing this almost exclusively on the leather strap. It's a beautiful, thick-cut honey brown leather that feels great on the wrist and looks great with the watch. Overall, I've really enjoyed this watch. It's one that I'm going to be keeping around for a while, I think, in my own collection. For me, the only thing I would have liked to see Vero change is maybe to go with a higher quality movement like the Miyota 9000 series. I think that's a little bit more appropriate in this price range. It'll give you a little bit more accuracy, a smoother sweep on the second hand, but more importantly, it's also thinner. And I think that if they did that, they would also be able to reduce the thickness of the case, maybe get that down to something like 11 millimeters, making it just a little bit easier to wear when you're hiking around in long sleeves. But honestly, for me, that's a fairly minor drawback, and I didn't really find any problem with the thickness. And I just get so much enjoyment out of wearing it that I've found myself choosing it over and over again in the last month or so since Vero sent it over. And if you can pick it up during the Black Friday sale, I think it's a no-brainer at that sale price. All right, guys, that'll wrap up the review for today. Thanks for watching. If you like the watch, there'll be a link to purchase it down below. And if you're interested in getting a watch-themed t-shirt like this one, you can pick it up on my website at shop.justthewatch.com. And if you liked this video, you probably like other microbrand watches. So if you haven't seen my new segment, the Microbrand Monthly, check it out. This watch was featured there along with a couple of other really cool ones. So go watch that one next. And if you haven't subscribed and want to keep up to date on the cool microbrand releases that are coming out, hit the subscribe button as well. Thanks for watching. I'll see you later. Bye.